Tonight on CFTK-TV News, Terrace Council approves some park improvements, an update on the Squamish wildfire, and controversy over a BC Ferries boat investment.
Northwest BC's only television news team. We are CFTK-TV News.
Hello, and thanks for joining us on this Thursday, June 12th, 2025. I'm Jaylene Matthews. A high stream flow advisory has been issued by the BC River Forecast Centre for the BC interior. This includes the Stikine, Skeena, and Nass rivers and tributaries. This means river levels are rising or expected to rise rapidly, but that no major flooding is expected, but minor flooding in low-lying areas is possible. This is a shot of the Skeena River from today. Check the River Forecast Centre website for the most up-to-date info as conditions continue to be monitored. And the Terrace City Council have approved some improvements to Terrace Park. CFTK-TV's Kel Maslin has more.
At the start of this week, the Terrace City Council held its bi-weekly meeting, and one of the topics that was pointed to as being potentially of interest to residents by the city before the meeting took place was a budget amendment involving Tetro Park. In a presentation from Terrace's Director of Parks, Recreation and Culture, Tara Irwin, Council was asked to approve a $30,000 budget increase for Phase 1 of a revitalization project at Tetro Park, with it also being proposed that the funds come out of the Terrace Community Forest Reserve and that their 2025 budget gets amended accordingly. Both Mayor Sean Bouitosh and Councillor Sarah Zimmerman openly expressed excitement at the idea of this project getting that kind of financial boost.
I think this is great. I'd like to see more add to for the youth in the community, so I think this is reasonable and look forward to seeing this work get done if we proceed with this.
I'm just super happy to see this happening. My kids go to the school at the end of the bike park and Tetro Park there, and it is a really well-used area. And the skills park in particular is long overdue for a facelift, so I'm really excited to see the work that's happening there.
Ultimately, the rest of the council agreed with them to the point that the proposal was passed. The budget will now increase to $150,000, and Tara Irwin also described what additions will be made to the park in the project.
But so the first phase would specifically just look at the bike skills park. As we've worked through the detailed site design with the consultant and contractor that we've hired, we've identified a couple of additional components that we really feel would be beneficial to include as part of Phase 1 and realize some efficiencies. So if you are able to scroll down through about 30 pages, I'd like to just highlight quickly that would be the addition of a tot loop. This would be just an asphalt loop, and that would meet the needs of the youngest riders or scooter users in the community. It's a little bit hard for learning bike skills on even, really well compacted gravel. And then also the addition of one additional jump line. This is meant to be a bike skills progression park focused on bringing in families and young and new riders. But what we've learned as we worked with the consultant and do a little bit more research is that in order to keep riders interested as they progress, you really do need the more advanced lines.
The goal for the project is to be finished sometime during the 2025 construction season. For CFTK-TV News, I'm Kel Maslin.
The wildfire burning in the Squamish area seems to have taken a slight turn for the better. Here's CTV's Martin McMahon.
Big plumes of smoke can be seen by most in Squamish. Drivers can also see it from the Sea to Sky Highway. But largely, this has been a day of relief.
Crews are working to protect critical infrastructure and homes first and foremost, and we've been successful in that regard. So overnight, we did not have to evacuate anyone that was on evacuation alert.
Sprinklers in place as a last-ditch resort should the fire change course, and roads blocked with people getting ready to leave if ordered to do so at a moment's notice. Edward Eckersley has been a lifelong resident of Squamish.
I've been wondering all the time I've lived here when this is going to happen. We're all loaded up, my car's loaded up, and when are we going to be able to unload them? And never know.
The fire has grown from 14 hectares Tuesday night to 20 today.
So the objective today is to continue with the aerial assault on the fire. We are protecting the communication towers at the top of Tebec's Hill, and the other objective is still with structural protection.
Small fires from falling debris got as close as 40 meters from some homes, showing just how important firefighters have been in protecting some of these properties.
For this fire specifically, very much the terrain is a concern. You know, every new area needs to be assessed for every type of safety concern, danger trees, rolling debris, fire activity. So this is a continual assessment.
The Wildfire Service is warning that putting this fire out could be a multi-week process, given how difficult and steep the terrain is. The Mounties and the Wildfire Service believe this fire was human-caused, and that's because there were no lightning strikes during the period where the fire started, so an investigation is underway. The question now is just how windy it's going to be and whether this continues to push the flames away from homes. Martin McMahon, CTV News, Squamish.
Coming up next, BC Ferries boat backlash. Some aren't on board with a BC Ferries decision to manufacture overseas. CTV's Rob Buffum explains.
News that BC Ferries has hired a Chinese company to build 4 new vessels for its aging fleet has generated choppy waters, including from its workers.
We listen to the Prime Minister say, build, baby, build. We listen to Premier Eby say, buy BC. And, my members are going to the grocery store. I'm going to the grocery store. We're picking the fruits and vegetables that are local to Canada.
The value of the contract hasn't been released, but the union thinks the jobs should stay in BC to bolster shipbuilding here.
A generational impact in shipbuilding. And, we're probably looking at $1 billion of ship investment.
Amid a trade war with China that includes tariffs on Canadian seafood and tensions between the U.S. and China, the opposition is also upset.
My big concern here is the instability, both politically and, quite frankly, when you look at the risk, the friction that's building between the United States and China. Who knows in 4 or 5 years where things are at?
The transportation minister emphasizes BC Ferries is not a Crown corporation, even if it gets massive funding from the province. He too says he's disappointed, but is heartened that the maintenance and repair contracts will stay in BC.
On something like this, you always want to see as much Canadian content as possible, British Columbian content as possible. And so that's my main concern.
BC Ferries says no Canadian company bid on the project. Chinese shipbuilders now account for 2/3 of global bids, and the winning bidder is responsible for Canadian ships and others around the world.
This particular shipyard, CMI Weihai, has really focused on exactly the kind of vessel that BC Ferries needs, specifically large, high-quality, roll-on, roll-off passenger ferries.
The new vessels are scheduled to be done between 2029 and 2031. BC's main shipbuilder and the obvious local choice, Seaspan, says it's too busy with federal projects, Navy and Coast Guard ships to meet the project's timeline, but wants a piece of future contracts, with 3 more builds already expected when these ones are done.
The BC family struck by tragedy has a message for boaters. Here's CTV's St. John Alexander.
Always with a twinkle in his eye. Fun, mischievous, cheeky. Lionel Hall had the kind of charm that drew people in.
This little guy, he rocked our world. He was the joy of the family. He made us laugh all day.
The 10-year-old loved soccer, was really good at it, making his own videos to get better and better, and whenever possible, wanted to make people laugh. Here he is being MC Hammer.
And he nailed it. Right across the stage, back and forth. He had all the teachers in hysterics.
On stage, in the moment, he does a backflip. And we're all like, what was that?
On Saturday, Lionel was on an inner tube with a friend off Kate's Park when they were hit by a speedboat. Lionel was killed. His friend is fighting for his life.
A week ago, Lionel crawled into bed with me and he asked, Mommy, when am I going to die? And I said, well, That's something we don't know.
But Mom explained that everyone has a soul and that souls never die.
I said, so if you want, you can close your eyes and you can reach for me and I will be there and I'll come tickle you. And I had no idea that I would be the one taking my own advice. You know, it's blowing my mind. This little guy, and he's actually come and tickled me 3 times on the cheek.
His parents know the people he was with well. They're trustworthy and undoubtedly responsible. And Lionel loved tubing and spending time with his friend. So he had lunch with Dad that day before Dad got him ready to go.
Checked to make sure he had sunscreen on. I twinkle in his eye. He said, "Yeah, Dad, I did it." And he said, "Come here, let me smell you." So I got to smell him and hug him before he got in the car and left. And I will never forget how that moment.
Mounties believe speed and alcohol may have been factors, and they arrested the driver of the speedboat. He has not been charged. That night, when Lionel didn't come home, Mom began texting and calling.
And it was just sobbing, and I'm sorry. And I said, Tully, what's going on? Where are you? And she said, I'm at Children's Hospital. I'm in ICU. I'm with her child. And she said, there's been an accident. I said, is Lionel with you? And she said, no. I said, is Lionel okay? And she said, I don't know.
A few hours later, police were at their front door.
You know, the only thought that I want to hold is that they would have been laughing and giggling and smiling and not have known.
As they showed us the last picture taken of Lionel, the precocious kid who experimented with Skittles for the science fair, they told us they don't want this to be a sob story. Instead, they're calling for stricter laws so this doesn't happen to another family. Most importantly, they want to thank everyone for their tremendous support.
Live big, right? Live big for Lionel. I just want that hashtag to get out there.
St. John Alexander, CTV News, Vancouver.
Let's take a look now at your Northwest weather. Tonight on the North Coast, expect conditions to be clear with a low of 7 degrees. Over the next few days on the North Coast, expect the sun to stick around until Saturday, then clouds to come in on Sunday and a bit of rain to start next week. Daily temperatures around 13-14 degrees, overnight lows between 9 and 12 degrees. Tonight in the Terrace Kitimat area, expect it to be partly cloudy, clearing overnight. Winds from the south at 20 kilometers an hour, gusting to 40, becoming light this evening, a low of 6 degrees. Over the next few days in the Terrace Kitimat area, expect it to stay warm and sunny into the weekend, then a bit of rain starting Monday. Daily highs between 17 and 21 degrees, overnight lows in the 7 to 12 degree range. Tonight in the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District, it's looking partly cloudy with a 30% chance of showers this evening, clearing before morning with a low of 3 degrees. Over the next few days in the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District, expect a sunny rest of the week and weekend. Temperatures in the early 20s before it cools down a little before next week starts. Maybe a few showers, overnight lows between 4 and 10 degrees. Checking your Northwest highways now. On Highway 16, watch for construction work with a detour in Prince Rupert. There's also bridge maintenance as well as mowing and utility work. On Highway 37, watch for bridge construction, frost heaves, road sweeping, as well as a section with a material spill. On Highway 37A, there's a section with falling rocks. On the Niska Highway, watch for bridge maintenance. And this is what the roads were looking like this afternoon around the region from the view of the province's highway cams. Still to come, closing arguments from the junior hockey sex assault trial. A single passenger survived the crash of an Air India passenger plane, killing over 240 people. NBC's Matt Bodner reports.
Really an astonishingly positive development in this deeply tragic story. Indian media and our international partner Sky News have confirmed that there is one accounted for survivor at this time. He is a British national, a man. We believe that he's about 40 years old, and Sky is reporting that his name is Vishwar Kumar Ramesh. They spoke to his family. They say that they have another family member who they believe was aboard that flight that they have not yet heard from. The Hindustan Times, meanwhile, has spoken to a man of the same name, of the same age, who had a ticket in that name, and quote him as saying, quote, 30 seconds after takeoff, there was a loud noise and then the plane crashed. It all happened so quickly. The newspaper says that he is being treated now for injuries sustained to his chest, eyes, and feet. Now, I think his account of what happened, of course, is going to be very important in the hours, days, weeks moving forward as the official investigation starts to look at what happened here today and share some of its findings. As things stand, we have heard nothing official from investigators, though aviation experts working with NBC News as well as commenting elsewhere have started to hone in potentially on signs seen in some of the videos of the crash that would indicate that the plane was not flying normally for that stage of flight, for that flight regime, so to speak, leading to some speculation the flaps were not fully deployed, which could have led to this crash, though it is important to emphasize there is no official information at this time suggesting any cause one way or another. Matt Bodner, NBC News, London.
Now to the Canadian junior hockey sex assault trial. Here's CTV's Heather Wright.
The Crown began her closing arguments this afternoon by telling the judge that Michael McLeod, the player who had consensual sex with the complainant before other players arrived, was a liar. Megan Cunningham said McLeod was asked by London police if he sent any texts inviting other players to join, and didn't mention the text court saw, which read, "Who wants to be in a three-way quick? 209 Mikey." It's not just that he forgot, it's not just that he didn't mention he sent those texts, he outright lies, Cunningham told the court. In a case that hinges not only on consent but on the credibility of the differing accounts presented, the Crown wasted no time in attacking the narrative put forward by the defense, which is that the sexual activity involving 5 World Junior players and the complainant was consensual, that EM was a willing participant and asked for more players to be invited to the room. But the Crown says a text message sent by the complainant to McLeod in the days following the incident shows otherwise. It says, "I was okay going home with you. It was everyone else afterwards that I wasn't expecting. I just felt like I was being made fun of and taken advantage of." All 5 defense attorneys have now wrapped their closing arguments in which they separately outline why their respective clients should be acquitted, telling the judge the Crown has failed to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the events that took place in June 2018 amounted to sexual assault.
The Crown said today the complainant is not the sexual aggressor the defense has made her out to be, and that she stayed in the bed with the covers pulled up out of fear when other players began arriving in the room. All 5 players have pleaded not guilty to the charges. Final submissions will continue tomorrow. Heather Wright, CTV News, London, Ontario.
Turning to the stock market numbers now. The Canadian dollar bumped up a little. Gold rose 53.70. Oil dropped 11 cents. Natural gas fell 2 cents. Aluminum was up $31. The TSX gained almost 92 points. The Venture Index was up under 1 point. In Toronto, the Nasdaq rose almost 47 points, and the Dow Jones gained close to 102. Disquiet in Los Angeles as curfew continues to be imposed. CTV's Joy Malbon has more.
What is fast becoming a summer of unrest, LA's curfew in place for a second night. A small area in downtown, ground zero for anti-immigration protests, now sweeping the nation. Last night, hundreds were arrested, some for acts of vandalism, but mostly for breaking curfew.
If you only saw the social media and the media reports of what's going on,
over the last 5 days, you would think that Los Angeles is on the verge of war.
The mayor blames the president's mass immigration raids for the chaos rocking this city. ICE agents seen chasing farm workers through this California field.
When you raid Home Depots and workplaces, when you tear parents and children apart, you're not trying to keep anyone safe. You're trying to cause fear and panic.
The president sent in the troops. These photos show armed National Guardsmen providing protection for ICE agents carrying out the raids. 700 Marines on standby, training at a baseball stadium. Donald Trump, unapologetic.
I can be stronger on an attack on Los Angeles.
Yes.
Okay? I think bringing in the National Guard 4 years ago or 8 years ago would have been more difficult.
California's governor calls it a brazen abuse of power, challenging it in court.
California may be first, but it clearly will not end here. Other states are next. Democracy is next. Democracy is under assault before our eyes.
No Trump, no ICE, no fascist USA.
Anger erupting over Donald Trump's crackdown is fueling demonstrations in cities across America. As the crowds grow, so have the arrests. The Texas governor calling up the National Guard. Protests are planned for Saturday across America. At the same time, Donald Trump's military parade with tanks and helicopters will roll through Washington.
Finally, a grizzly bear facing death from the province. Here's CTV's Andy Garland.
Tex, an adolescent grizzly bear, is trying to find a home and is believed to have swam to the island from Powell River a couple weeks ago.
He's a young bear and there's dominant bears there and they'd be pushing him out.
And he's just foraging off of berries and grass and he has done nothing wrong.
But calling Texada home is probably not the best thing for Tex.
We're just not prepared on Texada Island to have a grizzly bear.
Love him or hate him, the grizzly may be in trouble. Locals, BC bear advocates, and the regional First Nation say they're aware of the province putting a kill order out on Tex.
We have this situation where he's being targeted by conservation to kill. And as well, there's community members that are tracking him to kill.
The BC Conservation Service posted this to social media yesterday, stating that they were responding to a report of a grizzly on Texada chasing livestock, which some Texadians say was a false report.
Everybody with livestock there and nobody has any report of him that Tex has chased any livestock.
We're hoping to be able to save him. We need the kill order taken off of him as soon as possible.
Locals say a gentler approach is needed and Tex should be relocated.
We have permissions from the First Nations of the Mamakila people.
The chief of the First Nation has written a letter to the province asking to have the kill order lifted and relocate Tex to the Hoya Sound region of their territory.
We don't agree with killing innocent bears because they're driven out of their territory. Hopefully can live there peacefully and maybe find a mate there.
We have the funding to translocate Tex to that area.
CTV reached out to the province to confirm details about a potential kill order, but did not hear back in time for broadcast.
Everybody wants to live in nature here, but nobody seems to want to live with nature.
For people who want to live in nature, they hope the province will reserve their decision and give Tex a second chance. Andy Garland, CTV News.
That's our news for now. Thanks for watching.